A big game in the Big East. St. John's and Marquette with the prime time New Year's Day tip-off. And leading up to that game, what we wanted to do here at StatHouse was walk you through some of our lineup data and show you how we've seen other coaching staffs and some teams take advantage of it in terms of their game preparation. If we're starting here first from the Marquette perspective and looking at their five-man rotation so far this season, the first thing that jumps out is, wow, there's a lot of variety here. Steve and his staff are using a number of different lineups. They're not reliant and over-reliant on one specific set. And what that does for them is going into a game against St. John's, I think the question becomes, what lineup do we choose? What lineup in this game is going to give us the best chance at the outcome, because we know we have so much flexibility here, because we see quite a number of lineups with at least 20 minutes played and some success on the court. It's up to us to get to choose which of those we want to use. So what I'm doing with that, if I'm Marquette, is asking the question, okay, if I'm deciding which one of my lineups I'm going to use, who am I playing against? If we switch over to St. John's here, wow, just a very different landscape in terms of the lineups that Chris Mullen is using here. 184 minutes that he is playing his starters. This is not a hard question to answer if I'm Marquette. Who am I playing against? Yeah, it's these five right here. It's the St. John's starting five. They're playing most of the game. They are living and dying off of this lineup. So breaking down that lineup, what are they good at, and where am I seeing their weaknesses? If we scroll down here and we start looking at rebounds, that's the first thing that jumps out. Actually, a negative rebound differential with the starters that they're running through most of the game. That is one place I'd say that's, even looking across all of St. John's lineups, negative rebound differential, negative rebound differential, negative rebound. There's a lot. The Achilles heel right now of St. John's appears to be rebounding margin, right? And so if I am Marquette, the first lineup I'm looking to counter with is where am I going to get an edge on the glass? Where can I take advantage of this weak spot on St. John's? Secondarily, what am I going to be going up against? What is going to be really good here? And that is comes to turnover margin. So on the other side of the coin, look at this. Plus 43 turnover margin by the St. John's starters. In fact, when we click out here, that out of all lineups in all of Division I, the plus 43 is the best turnover margin of any lineup in the country. So rebounding may be their Achilles heel, and it's their ability to turn their opponents over and not turn the ball over as much themselves. That's really the strength of that unit. All right, so now if I'm Marquette, where am I going from there? Well, the first thing I'm probably doing is I'm going to try and make this data to be as similar to St. John's level of competition as I can. So I'm probably removing the UMBC game, probably removing Presbyterian, probably removing Charleston Southern here, and North Dakota and Southern probably as well. Okay, now I want to see how my lineups are doing in the biggest games against teams that I feel have a similar competition level to what I'm going to be facing against St. John's. The first thing that jumps out to me here is, wow, Ed Morrow in my lineup, my second most used lineup, substituting him in the game. And I believe that substitution, just taking a quick peek here, for Theo John, this is a Morrow for Theo John substitution, plus 13. I wonder what's going on there. And I scroll down to where I think Ed Morrow might have the most impact, and sure enough, they're plus 11 on the glass in just 22 minutes of play against some of their highest level competition. So my first key is, yeah, after my starting unit, I am not hesitating to bring Ed into the game. I'm going to try and give him some extra run. I think that's going to be able to exploit the weakness that St. John shows on the glass. Secondarily, when it comes to turnover margin, where is my best turnover margin? In fact, it is a weak spot for me in a lot of my bigger games. The most reliable unit has been the starters, and that actually plays in perfectly to the first point here is, yeah, we're definitely going to ride the starters. The emphasis is going to be on turnover margin, going to be on taking care of the basketball. And then when we really need to push ahead our advantage and against St. John's, it's Ed Morrill. It's my best rebounding lineups taking advantage of St. John's biggest weakness, which is the rebounding. Now, how about the flip side here? What can I do if I'm St. John's in trying to tilt the advantage of the game and the flow of the game into my favor? And so the first thing I'm looking at is given our turnover advantage, well, how are we playing? What kind of pace is more conducive to our biggest advantage? And what I'm seeing right here is St. John's we're going to play fast, and that's how we like to play. That's how we're scoring most effectively, unless we're getting maybe pawns at the end of the shot clock. We're talking first 10 seconds of our possession is where we're doing our most damage in terms of points per possession here, well above 1.1, which is fantastic. Okay, and I'm getting 40% roughly of my possessions to occur in these first 10 seconds. That has to be a point of emphasis. Let's compare that over to Marquette, where, what do you know? They actually aren't. Marquette is not adverse to playing quickly. In fact, we're looking at about 31% of Marquette's possessions ending within the first 10 seconds of the shot clock, but not as good, not nearly as good as St. John's, as I am, from St. John's perspective here, in converting those opportunities, my points per possession down around 0.8. So if I'm St. John's and I can tease out a faster pace to this game, if I can tease out Marquette playing at the speed that I want to play, and we can get 40 to 50% of these possessions shots up in the first 10 seconds of a possession, that's going to immediately start to swing the game in my favor, and also puts me in less situations where someone like Morrow, someone where if Marquette is going to leverage their rebounding advantage, well, we can negate that if we're playing at a quicker pace, if we can get the bigs out of the game and just increase the pace of the game, and that's where we thrive to begin with. So that's the key to the game, I believe, from the St. John side. I think from Marquette is play a more deliberate style, own the glass, and take care of the basketball. I think that's what the numbers and the lineup combinations for this game is saying. So we'll be excited to watch the outcome here. Should be a great New Year's Day Big East action. Thanks, everybody.